This is your Super Bowl. Why is the Equip Expo such a big deal for John Deere?
There's not an opportunity like this, I don't think, anywhere else.
You worked here for 8 years. What has inspired you to work at John Deere for 8 years?
When you are around good people like that, it's just natural that you want to be better.
It's hard to inspire someone to go out and mow grass all day.
Find that one extra thing. You have to do that to stay competitive and to keep people, the employees, come to work knowing you're with a brand like John Deere. I think there's a lot of pride.
What's your advice? How do they create a John Deere type culture where people want to actually come?
I would say...
Welcome to Louisville, Kentucky. We are here in the John Deere booth with Luke Gribble from the Kansas City area.
Yes.
He has worked at John Deere for 8 years. They have built us an epic podcast studio, to say the least, here at the biggest trade show in the lawn care, landscape, and industry. Welcome to Louisville. Welcome to the Green Street Podcast, Luke.
Yes, no, thanks for having me. Appreciate the shout out. It's cool what we can do now. It's the equipment's obviously a big piece when you come to the shows, but having the podcast booth here, I'm glad it all worked out. This will be fun.
Yeah, we were talking off air that this is your Super Bowl.
It is.
I mean, this is our Super Bowl with all of, so many of our listeners are here from all over the world. Why is the Equip Expo such a big deal for John Deere?
I mean, at the end of the day, when you want to see and talk to this many customers in this short amount of time, there's no other show that you can really do that at. In fact, we really do a lot of our product launches based around when this show is happening. So a couple of the new mowers here this week. One we just introduced today. People are seeing it for the first time.
Which one is that?
That's the EFI Z-Track models over here. So that's making the debut basically at the show this week. A couple new deck sizes on the stand-on quick track models. We time those releases to really make a splash every year, and adding the compact equipment too, whether it's a gator, a skid steer, a compact tractor. It's just a good show all around.
We're in the warm weather here. I live in Florida, so driving here this morning was it was cold. But outside, and it is warming up, but outside they can actually test it out.
They can. That's, I think, the unique thing too with this show in particular is that you see all the equipment in here. We've got just as much outside too. So whether you want to run a skid steer, dig a hole in with an excavator, or run one of the mowers, it's, I think, one of the only shows here in Louisville in particular where you can do things like that. So if you're really interested in the equipment, there's a ton out there from everybody. I mean, everything's out there. So it's sometimes funny to remember we've got this booth, we've got that booth out there. There's a lot of people from Deere here this week. So again, just with all the people, all the equipment, it's a Super Bowl. I don't think tickets are as expensive as a Super Bowl, but it's maybe one day.
They're very, very, very reasonable.
They are.
If you get them early, they're like $12.50, and then as it progresses up, I think if you waited to the last minute, which you shouldn't have if you've been listening to the podcast, but I think they're like $120, which again, you should have got your tickets early. But that's very reasonable for the amount of value you're going to get from being here and networking and seeing all this stuff.
Yeah, I've been in Kansas City I've been there for 5 years, which is a great time to, root for the football team when you move to Kansas City in the last 5 years.
So you're a Chiefs fan.
Yes. So you have those dreams about, well, maybe the Super Bowl is attainable this year, ticket prices. No, it's just getting worse and worse. And then, we have the world's biggest pop star that's making an appearance at all the games. So it's just driving up the prices like crazy. And so, I've seen the cost of some of those tickets. Equip Expo, nowhere near that.
You guys have the refs. Every time I watch a Kansas City game, it's like, oh, they're going to lose. Nope, there's a flag, pass interference. Kansas City gets another win.
Yeah.
How's that from your perspective as an actual fan? Because on the outside looking in, it's like, okay, because of Taylor Swift, the refs are helping you win just so they get more views or whatnot. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm over-analyzing.
I feel like gotten a lot more of that from pretty much the whole rest of the country now. The refs. I've always found an argument, well, that was pass interference. That was too many players on the field. But when my wife and I are watching the games, we're with friends now, there'll be that call, and I'll go, here it is. This is when everyone will say that it was over, and then the refs got the Chiefs back in the game.
Fourth and 14, incomplete pass, game's over. Nope, there's a flag, pass interference.
Yeah.
First down, Kansas City. I'm a Browns fan, so Myles Garrett gets held on every play. If you watch it, it's holding.
Okay.
They don't call it one time the whole game. So anyway, I'm a bitter Cleveland Browns fan.
It's fair. It's funny because the Chiefs were, real likable. Patrick Mahomes, I think, still is a super likable guy overall. And then when they start, 3 Super Bowls. They've gone to 4 in the last 5 years. The dynasty mentality, it's just natural that now people are not the biggest fans of them. So that's any sport, right? With like the Yankees and with baseball and stuff. And so we're playing the villain a little bit, I guess, now.
Have you ever been to the game when they're doing the
Oh, yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah, we typically have gone to about 1 game a year.
Okay.
Haven't gone to one this year, but hopefully try to make one. It's the atmosphere at Arrowhead is something unique. You have to go tailgate first, though, if you don't know much about Arrowhead. So it's about 10 miles outside, east of the downtown Kansas City. It and the Royal Stadium, Kauffman Stadium, share a parking lot. So it's these 2 stadiums right off the interstate, but kind of.
I drove by one time and I wasn't expecting to see it.
Yeah.
I assumed it was downtown or whatever. I'm just driving it and I look over. It's like a sports complex or something. I saw the Royals, saw the Chiefs. I saw it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So it's just the huge parking lot. And Royals, too, you can tailgate before the games, but go to the Chiefs game, get there hours and hours before, get your tailgate set up or find a buddy who's got it set up. Do that. Go to the game. It's a fun time.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland Browns fan over here, so.
My neighbor's a Cleveland Browns fan. If you're looking for someone to go, I could probably hook you up and you guys can
What I really
join
need
together,
is a
right?
therapist. That's what I really need. What's the tie? Because most people think John Deere, Illinois, and you guys, I'm meeting more and more people. I'm like, oh, how's it like living in Illinois? Like, I live in Kansas City. So it sounds like you guys have a big presence there, whatnot?
Yeah. So John Deere has actually been in the Kansas City area. I think it's over 100 years now. 2 or 3 years ago, they celebrated an anniversary there. It was one of the, I believe, what we called branches. So outside of the corporate office, which is in Moline, when John Deere started expanding into growing the dealer network and making sure parts and machines were at different places in the country to distribute out, Kansas City was actually one of those first markets. If you go just west of downtown Kansas City, it's a neighborhood called the West Bottoms. There's still an old building there with the John Deere logo on the top of it, not the one you see today with the leaping deer, but just a John Deere signage. Mm-hmm. So they've moved from that office to a few different places, but Kansas City's been a home for John Deere for a long time now. And then we've got, like, a lot of our mowers and the folks that are supporting this show are out of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We've got
Chase
factories.
too, I met him.
Chase,
North
yes.
Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I think you're talking to him later this week too, aren't you?
Yeah.
So we've got North Carolina. We have a lot of factories in that Moline, Illinois, Iowa area. So we're really all over the place, which makes it pretty cool because it allows you to kind of do and see a lot of different things, do a lot of travel, try some different experiences, try some different jobs. So in that regard, it's a really good place to work because you can really see a ton.
We've talked off-air that you've worked here for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
In the lawn care landscaping space, like if you actually own a landscaping business or a lawn care business, our biggest struggle is we just had a guest on before this, Mike Plutz. He's like, I'm just looking for someone who has a car, who will show up, who will work. Like, it's hard to inspire someone to go out and mow grass all day. I mean, let's be honest. If you have a home and you just mow your grass once a week, and you can go in and sit on the back porch when you're done and drink tea, it's satisfying. But when you have to do 8 or 15 yards a day, people just get burnt out, and it's hard for us to find employees and keep them. What has inspired you to work at John Deere for 8 years? And I'm assuming there's something in the future where you're just like, I want to be a part of Deere. What's that culture? Why have you worked here for so long?
I do think at the end of the day, John Deere is a company that values a lot of different, they want you to get a lot of different experiences, honestly. So that helps with some of that. You mentioned, mowing 8 hours a day. I mean, we're still obviously putting in 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours of work, whatever it is, but they do value a lot of, you should learn this part of the business. Even if it's kind of outside of your expertise, go learn about it. And when it kind of starts coming together, you look back just in 8 years, which has flown by, you might not be the exact expert, but you know kind of a little about everything in the space. So for me, I've always enjoyed just continuing learning and finding new stuff, meet new people. So to get those different experiences is a huge thing for me. And like you said, going forward, that might be a cool part of the business to look at. Or, hey, I really enjoy this part. I'd like to stay with it, but maybe I can go from marketing to sales, or from sales to product support. There's a lot of different paths you can take. So that's what I've enjoyed the most. There's opportunities to go and live in different places, whether it is a factory or we have a lot of folks that are actually out in the field that work with dealers, work with customers on a daily basis. You can live kind of in different parts. So there's that piece of it too, and it's a known brand the quality behind the equipment, how the employees come to work knowing you're with a brand like John Deere. I think there's a lot of pride, and especially in the Midwest where we do have a lot of employees, a lot of them grew up on John Deere tractors or John Deere mowers or John Deere skid steers. It's kind of cool because I think it becomes a part of people, and when you can work for that company with that brand and logo, it attracts a lot of people and keeps a lot of people.
Well, and it attracts really good people. I've met Chris here for the first time, but we've been corresponding, and he's just so excellent at communicating, and everything's so professional. And Darius Lane, he's been someone that I've met at the show. I've been coming to the John Deere booth, thankfully now for a few years. And this year, John Deere, y'all, this is amazing. They built us an epic studio. I'm loving it. So this is awesome. But Darius and Chris, and I could go ahead and name, Eric Halfman and Chase too, and all these guys, they're all so excellent. So if you come in and they're all crushing it and you're mediocre, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. What's that like to work with so many rock stars, all-stars?
Well, it keeps you on your toes in a way. You have to continuously not beat somebody, but when you are around good people like that, it's just natural that you want to be better. And two, with those like Eric and Chase specifically, they've got a lot more experience than me, but they're right there that you can leverage. Hey, what do you think about this path? I'm thinking about this job, or I'd like to know more about this. I know that you had that experience at one point, or you lived here, did that. Everyone is extremely open to having those conversations so that you can try and think through your career and know what worked well for them or get their advice. There's a ton of folks like that in the company that are extremely open to sitting down. We have a lot of just one-on-ones is a term. I know you probably heard of it and such, but just you can talk more about what are you doing for work? Did you get this done? Yeah, that happens, but a lot of times it's how are things going? What do you want to do in 5 years or next year? Or are you liking this part of your job? Do you want the experiences? That's a very common thing. And
how frequent are those one-on-ones?
You can make them as frequent as you need to. I think a lot of managers do it once a week.
Wow.
Some it's really what fits what fits both of your schedules. What's cool too is that we just had a lot of interns specifically over the summer, like a lot of companies, and we encourage them specifically to put time on our top leaders' calendars just to introduce themselves. Our leaders almost expect it. Like,
wow.
I'm not talking to an intern this week. They want to do that. They want to get to know who some of these new and upcoming employees are in the company as well. So it's a neat thing that the communication link, and again, I think that is important too from a keeping employees' perspective. If you're struggling or upset and you don't have anybody to just talk to about that or try to solve it, you probably are going to get people that want to go in a different direction. But I think that helps a lot of our culture, specifically that we have a lot of people that you can kind of have those conversations with. I
asked our previous guest, Mike Pletz, his advice to finding a good employee for a landscaping business. He was honest. He's like, I don't know. But what's your advice to someone out there who owns a lawn care business, who owns a landscaping business? How do they create a John Deere type culture where people want to actually come and fling mulch and cut grass or put in pavers or whatever it is, it's a tough work.
Yeah.
What's your advice to a lawn care landscape business owner to build that John Deere, that Kansas City Chiefs culture? Right?
Kansas City Chiefs culture, I like
More
it.
John Deere.
Yeah, right.
You don't have the refs here to bail you out at John Deere. So.
I haven't seen any walking by though, but if a flag gets thrown my way, then I'll know something's going on. I would say you just have to do something, and it can just be one thing that's a benefit that's above and beyond. Whether it is the simple once a month we take the whole team out to dinner, and it can be pizza, it can be nice, but maybe everybody goes out and they can bring spouses or significant others, whatever the case is. If you have some little perk in how you get paid, maybe a bonus or an incentive kind of tied to it, the days I feel like of the norm are kind of going to the wayside. If there's a lot of opportunity out there, whether it's in landscaping or other businesses, right? You're probably fighting the same people that might be looking at other companies to go, and they can have one little benefit, and it closes the deal. So whatever you can do outside of the normal, here's your wage, here's what we're going to pay you, here's the hours. If you're large enough, you can offer healthcare, but find that one extra thing. You have to do that to stay competitive and to keep people. And I think there's a lot, not just in landscaping, but when you're thinking that old-fashioned way, and why can't I find people, I think the reality, it's a different world. And getting on social media or right in front of your website to advertise it, you have to do that now, or people just aren't going to know.
We're at an event yesterday. Jonathan Potoshnik, he has about $15 million lawn business in Dallas, Texas, which in our industry is big. Very few maintenance companies cross 10 million. And what he was telling us is, he's like, guys, there's companies out there that are finding good people. You guys found Chase too, and Eric Halfman and yourself and Chris and Darius, et cetera. So you guys attracted great employees. There's other, great companies as well that get winners. So you've shown us the principle, of how we can do it. And I think that about going out to dinner, that's something that, I doubt any lawn care business owner, maybe around Christmas, they'll do a Christmas, but guys, let's go get some pizza, let's go get some tacos, let's go, grab some barbecue or something. Bring your wife, bring your kids. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because even, we have a lot of folks working the show this week here at Equip from John Deere side. Some of these, I sit next to them every day in the office, but even something like this where you can get out and just have a dinner with your team, relax, you can talk about other stuff, you're not just confined to the office, It goes a long way. And it's funny because you're thinking, I spend all day with some of these people, but I do want to go out and I do want to have fun with them, and let's keep the conversation going. So even this week, in particular, just with us, there's a different atmosphere, and it kind of it changes the mood. You're not work. Sometimes you still talk about work. That's natural, but it can be in a different setting, and that makes it fun.
Yeah, totally.
Good.
We're here at Luke Gribble from John Deere, and this is their Super Bowl with all the professional landscape equipment. You guys are bringing your A game to this show. What all goes in? This is the details. There's like green lights under the mowers. There's the podcast studio. I don't know the real estate, but it looks like your booth is the biggest one here, and it's right at the entrance. You guys got the prime real estate. Is this like a year-long planning session, or what goes into making this epic studio at the biggest trade show in the industry from your day-to-day operations?
Yeah, so we'll have a team meeting with, I'd say, a core group of people. I think it's on the calendar next Thursday, where we'll start talking about what worked, what could we improve upon for next year. So the conversation will start next week. Wow. Thinking about what's gonna start framing the show for next year. We have folks that are work for Deere. So Jennifer, I don't know if you've met her.
Yeah, I met her.
So she and Nikki's also here. She's working the outside booth. They, along with a couple other team members, that's their only job is shows and events. So that is all they think about: planning the shows, getting into the details, working to figure out how we get equipment, how we get people. So we'll, again, have that meeting next week to talk next year, and then we'll probably start having more in-depth conversations, getting into how many pieces, what do we want to see, what's going to be the launch and reveal next year. That'll probably start sometime not long after the new year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell you guys did a wonderful job, and I'm very grateful to get to be here. This is very grand, isn't it, Mr. Producer? It's absolutely awesome. Well, what's new? Compact mowers. You guys got a lot of commercial. For someone who owns a commercial landscaping company, it looks like you guys got a lot of things that are new. You want to kind of break down the lineup here for us?
Yeah, definitely. So on the mowing side, we've got kind of two big reveals here. So we've got a lineup of 4 electronic fuel injected models on the zero turn mowing side. That was a gap in our portfolio for a little bit of time that we're excited to reintroduce, get them out there. We know there's a lot of professional landscapers that are moving away from the carburetor models into the fuel injection models.
For someone who wasn't paying attention in science class or shop class, explain EFI. Explain, like if you were talking to a 5th grade class, like, here's what EFI is, here's how it's different. Can you kind of break it down for someone who's maybe not, a mechanic, to understand the differences?
I'll try my best a little bit. So I just think the EFI, there's individual nozzles, or, if you're thinking just a injector, so to speak. So it's able to basically better control the fuel that's going into the engine. So from a customer perspective, you're going to get better fuel economy, and it's performing, the fuel's going to the machine based on what the machine needs. So it's a lot more efficient. It's going to be an easier ride as well. But yeah, if you're going back to just some of the basics, injectors, nozzles that are literally just spraying the fuel, not all the time, but based on the machine's demand. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then what else do you guys got?
Sure. So on our quick tracks, we introduced those. Basically, it's a ground-up redesign last year. That was really the big reveal. We've added a 60-inch rear discharge deck to the 865 model, and then a larger 72-inch side discharge deck. So on the quick track side, that's the big reveal this year, really expanding that lineup and getting more options out there. And then with our compact equipment, 2 of the models, what you see over here, the skid steer in front of us that we're looking at right now, those were released earlier in the calendar year this year. Complete redesign as well. We've got telescoping wheel loader outside. It's another new model to the lineup. And then 2, not really on the product side, but we have a big presence over in the corner with what we call Operations Center, which is our fleet management tool that helps you track equipment, track maintenance. I think you're talking to Amanda on that right after me.
After this,
so she'll get really into the details, but that's been a John Deere tool for a very long time, but we're really catering it more towards professional landscapers, the mowing industry. So we're really making that front and center and talking about it more this year too.
Now, there's a weed eater on this string trimmer over here on this mower. Can you explain why that's there?
So we offer and like to showcase all the different types of, we just call them attachments in general. So what are the other things you can include on the mower just outside of the machine? So that one does have the ability to have the weed eater on the side of it to clip it. So if you do, have somebody who's getting off and on the mower on a large property, you can clip that on there. I think we've got a grass catcher on one of the models back there. It's a piece of the business that outside of the machine, we know a lot of customers are interested in the little extras. So showing that, hey, we have some of those extras and helps us kind of give a unique perspective to it.
Did you guys bring any real mowers here? When I'm out golfing, I love seeing a John Deere, cutting the green, or any of those out here.
The golf mowers, we've got a wide area mower that I think's out here that resembles a golf mower, but I think golf has some of their, I forget what their big show is, but
golf show in Orlando.
That's probably it. I haven't been to that one myself, so they're probably their Super Bowl. So it's mostly just on the commercial mowing side. But yeah, the golf's a big piece of the business. You can probably talk to Chase about that. He covers some of the golf lineup now too. So
yeah, I love being out there watching them cut the greens, because it's just like, the couple of courses I play are really nice, and they got that John Deere mower out there mowing the green, and it's nice.
It's there's a lot of art to it. I mean, whether you're on a golf course, at a college campus, at some corporate property, it's there's a beauty behind just good cut grass, how they maintain the lawns, how you see the striping. It's funny how that all works, but it's a big deal.
Talk about big deal. Equip Expo is a big deal. You've been coming here for a few years, correct?
Yeah, this is just my 3rd year that I've come to the show, but it is because, like we talked earlier, we've got the outside piece, we got such the big presence here. It's one that I always look forward to. Yeah,
and have you seen because from a numbers perspective, we keep breaking the record each year, and this year, I know Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton made it difficult for folks from Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. Yeah. Our airport's closed. Thankfully, our friends at Equip bailed me out, and they got me one of the last tickets out of Florida.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure you could still come, but for me to be here on time, it was one of the last options. Like, he was booking it, Luke, and he's like, it's not working because somebody had bought it. So he's like, all right, let me check another flight. And he's like, get me one of the last available. It was a big blessing that I'm here. But my question to you is, this coming 3 years, have you noticed it just getting bigger and better? And they haven't opened it up yet where the regular general admission tickets are in, but what have you seen from your perspective?
Yeah, well, you hear it that, we added this piece of the expo center that we're now having equipment in. We have made requests to get larger spaces so we can run more machines in particular, and because they're so constrained and it's so popular, it's tough for them to actually do that. So to me, that means obviously we're seeing a need. We're trying to get as much of our product out there that customers can run through, especially when they're outside, and then obviously come through the booth. We pack as much as we can in here because, again, there's not an opportunity like this, I don't think, anywhere else, where it's just this many customers over this short period of time, get their feedback, take it back. That's how we do a lot of these adjustments, with the new deck models on the quick tracks. We get a lot of that feedback here at this show, take it back to the factory, take it back to the engineering teams, and really get to work with things too. So you always can go out, visit customers in the field throughout the year, but this many in this short period of time, it's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, I see the man, the myth, the legend over there, Chris Kaiser, next to Evan. he's going to be on the program on Friday.
Oh, cool.
So
cool.
he's the one who he's the president of the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute. So
Very cool.
Pretty cool to see him.
Yeah.
But he's going to be in the John Deere booth on Friday. This studio is so awesome. Was there anything we're leaving out here, Luke, that needs addressed?
I think that just covering some of those topics, again, just it is our Super Bowl at the end of the day, like we talked at the beginning, to be able to showcase all this stuff, to really show what John Deere is all about. Hopefully people see the products. Hopefully people too, I like to think they do. When we talked about that team atmosphere and just the employee piece, there's a lot of there's a lot of high quality, smart individuals that work the show, that work for John Deere. So yeah, we're out here showing our equipment. Hopefully customers are going to think about buying the equipment, but hopefully they are seeing more, that John Deere is a good place. We've got good people, and that really the offerings we have, even outside of the equipment, that there's a lot that we can bring to the table that I think when you're thinking about the business side of things, from the financing side to that operations center side to the equipment.
Talk a little bit more about that, because those ain't cheap. I'm pointing. You guys can't see it. The skid steers and stuff. The mowers are this stuff. Everything's getting more expensive.
Yeah.
But if somebody wanted to look at the financing options, you guys do that in-house, correct?
It's all in-house, and what we think is a really unique kind of way of us being able to just focus not on, I think a lot of like other financial institutions, right? They might have consumer accounts where you have like your savings or checking account, right? John Deere Finance, it's built around equipment, financing everything from combines and large tractors all the way down to mowers and skid steers. It's unique because since we can focus on that piece of the business, we can get different types of offerings. So we have skip payment options in the wintertime, as an example, that might be harder to do if you're going to just another financial institution or your credit union or whatnot. We know that in certain parts of the country, you're maybe not working as much on the landscape side. So we'll set up payments. You can skip those throughout the winter when the cash flow isn't coming in, start them back up when things are getting going back in the spring. So that's something just in of itself that's unique. We can too listen to, hey, I'm really looking at a leasing model maybe this year instead of buying outright. We offered leases. We do that in-house. I mentioned too the field support. So we obviously have folks that are behind the scenes making everything happen, but we have what we call territory finance managers that there's probably one that lives here in Louisville. They're all throughout the country that they can even say, look, this works good for my customer base down here, and the dealer can even package something together. So I know talking a lot about the business side, looking at different options, even depending on different times, like where rates are, it could be more attractive to lease. It could be more attractive to rent if you're not wanting to keep stuff on your books. Or again, if you're looking for a low rate financing offer, that's stuff that we can offer too. So having that in-house, having the expertise, thinking about equipment only, I think that's a big thing that John Deere can offer, and why we have folks from finance here and why we talk about it in the booth as well.
And we're going to put the John Deere link in the show notes if you guys want to check out the latest and greatest from John Deere. That link is in the top of the show notes here. Somebody wants to buy a new John Deere mower. They want to investigate about, research a little bit about possibly doing that. Yeah. How do you do that?
So first off, Deere.com. There's a ton of great resources out there. We have our full product portfolio. We have information. We talked Operations Center, John Deere Finance, all of that's out there. The next place to go is stop by your local John Deere dealer. They're going to have the product experts in-house too that can guide you, help if you're thinking, do I need this model? Do I want this model? What is the newest? What's the latest and greatest? They're the boots on the ground that at the end of the day are going to probably support you, be your local contact. So Deere.com if you want to get the conversation started, kind of figure out what we've got out there, and then work with your local dealer, and they're going to get you in the right direction from there.
Sounds good. Well, Luke, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you wanted to share here?
No, I'm glad you like the booth. We're glad to have you here this year.
Like is an understatement. I'm used to, this is awesome.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, if we were on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, I mean, it could be good, but it's just like your screen's there, my screen's here. This way, we have nonverbal communication. We could take the conversation deeper. So I like to podcast in person, and there's 30,000 people here, all the top industry. I mean, we just saw Chris Kaiser, who we're going to have on the program on Friday, but this is a dream for us. The issue is you can't get a booth in here if you tried, because they have a waiting list. So if I wanted to Yeah, it's sold out. Like Echo's there every year. All these companies, they're in the exact same spot. I memorize where they're at. John Deere, right when you come in the door.
Yeah.
Big old thing. So by you guys giving us a part of your studio to create this content for our community, my heart is full of gratitude and thanksgiving and appreciation. And this is like a dream for me to get to do in-person interviews from the John Deere booth. I'm loving it.
No, that's great. I mean, we do. We want to make it work for everybody, right? We know the customers. This is something they need and expect now, right? To have this kind of different insight. So whatever we can do to make it happen, it is. We were excited to have you in the booth. I'm glad that you're reciprocating it. It just works for everybody, right? At the end of the day.
Cool. Well, good luck on your Chiefs. Our Browns. While we're recording this, the Browns are 1-5. So we're already talking about who we're going to draft next year. But you guys actually can think about maybe winning their Super Bowl. So
yeah, coming off the off week last week, I think they're on Sunday Night Football. I think this coming week. So we're ready to get back at it.
Is that the Chris Collinsworth, the guy that's always talking about Patrick Mahomes? He loves that Sunday Night Football.
He loves Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he does.
All right, I got to pace my voice because I have 14 of these interviews. You start talking about Patrick Mahomes, I love sports.
So. Yeah, I'm with you.
From the John Deere booth, it's Luke Gribble from Kansas City. We appreciate John Deere and hope to catch you on the next podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.